He's going to be at the Warner Theater next week in Washington, D.C., where the Capitals will hopefully be sweeping their way into the Stanley Cup by Thursday, Friday, and Saturday on a Preakness weekend. We welcome back one of my favorite comedians and a man who knows Baltimore and Washington sports. We welcome the great Lewis Black back onto the program. You can find all of his work at Lewis Black as well as at Twitter and see him at the Warner Theater. Mr. Black, I'm going to wind you up today talking sports because I know not every guy calls you to talk about the Redskins and the cheerleaders and Peter Angelos, but do, sir, have a good day. The Baltimore Orioles are in 5th place. That's what we call it here. We can't call it last place because Mr. Angelos owns the media network.
Oh, my God. 5th place. It's 5th doesn't even describe it. They're in a pit. They're in 5th place. They're in a pit. It's horrifying. All I spent the whole summer, because it's literally, not the summer, but the spring, the season, the preseason, going, could you buy a pitcher? Would it hurt you to just, this is the last time you got this team together. Could you just pretend to show these guys a little love by getting a couple of, put some money in, just get a couple of guys for, so we'll see what it would be like to have that. To have a couple of really, just one major pitcher. Come on.
Well, they signed Alex Cobb. They gave him $53 million. The Machado thing is what sits at all of this. And look, you're a smart guy. What sits at this is a creepy owner who's owned the team for 25 years, who took a franchise that I'm sure you revered because you're of that age of Brooks and Boog and Palmer and all that stuff. And it's wrecked. It's wrecked. I don't know what else to say. There are less than 10,000 people going to the ballpark every night.
Yeah, look, when your friends from literally on the East Coast, from your friends who are Boston fans, your friends who are Yankee fans, even your friends who are Cleveland fans, will say, gee, it's great that we get to go to Baltimore and we can watch a game and stay in a hotel and do all the stuff that we do for less than it would cost to see a game in those cities. So it's like, come on, guys, really. So that's what we are. We're like the place people go to watch baseball games, which is great, I guess, for the city and for tourism. But, boy, my feeling with Machado is if you're not going to fix the roads, okay, and you're not going to put out a public works bill, all right, that people buy bonds for. You're not going to do it for education. Then let's put out a bond to keep Manny Machado. I put money into that.
Public funds? We did that. We built this guy a stadium that's now empty because they've mismanaged this thing. Look, you grew up in the area, right? So give me your background with the Orioles and Memorial Stadium. Look, I've seen your act. I've seen you drop a squat on Angelos, Daniel Snyder, all in one. And Robert Irsay. I think you buried Irsay the last time you were up at the Modell Lyric, right? I think you did.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Irsay was just, come on. I think Memorial Stadium, it was, look, the thing is in terms of baseball is that it started with, I was kind of I was a fan of it when I was a kid, because I was closer to D.C. and it was more in my face. I was a Senators fan, and then they took that team away. Just when they were getting interesting, they took them away. And so then that was when I kind of turned to Baltimore. And then they brought in another team, and it was like, no. And then they traded that infield away. And I was a little split until they basically traded the infield for Denny McLain. Okay, you trade a whole infield for a guy for in the midst of a massive coke habit. I think at the time, from what I can gather, and that was the end of that. And so I became I just said, all right, that's it. I'm a fan of the Orioles, and I've stuck with them since then. I always but I rooted back and forth for both teams, and then just have been loyal. And then when they brought in the Nationals, it's like, no, you can't do it 3 times. You can't.
Well, but I mean, plenty of people have. It's been very, very easy to become a Nationals fan here over the last 10 years if you live, let's say, anywhere south of, like, Laurel, let's say. And look, the Orioles made a lot of money off of that back in the 90s. To your point, they were relying on tourism, relying on Cal Ripken, relying on everyone still loving Brooks and Boog. In 2018, and you know young people aren't watching baseball, Lewis, I am a little concerned with how deathly empty it's been around here and, how sort of bankrupt the soul of the franchise has been when I see a 30-year anniversary of 0-21, and we went 50,000 strong out there to support that because we love the team, we love the people, we love the players. And now if you fall in love with Machado, you know he's going to be in pinstripes next year, right?
Yeah, and if he is, it's just going to be. I don't know what I'll do. I'm going to have to leave New York. I can't live there. He's in pinstripes. I've too many people, and plus, I mean, there's just too many friends of mine that I will have to, who will literally call me, text me, whatever, the day after, oh, did you see what Manny did last night? Stop it. And now he's on a tear. It's like, I want all the money they can give me, and he'll get it. Him and Bryce will get it. But and then you go to the Washington team, which look, I'm sorry, basically if your Native Americans are telling you change the name of the team, you just change the name of the team. Okay, that's it. Move on. All right. Please.
Well, that's never going to happen with this guy. No,
it's no. And for him to be Jewish and to have no sensitivity to that is really beyond belief. I mean, it's just extraordinary. It's part of the deal. It's in your DNA, schmuck.
Well, it's an interesting thing for, I think, our times where political correctness and a guy like you who has always sort of worked the edge of comedy and some sort of, dark anger behind all of this at a comedic sense, this isn't funny anymore, how the country's being run. This isn't funny anymore that they've taken things like our baseball teams and our football teams and destroyed them through literally greed and avarice, right? I mean, there's nothing more at the heart of that, and I know you fought against that and railed against that in your socialistic ways. And hey, speaking of socialism, hockey's catching on in D.C., right? We got the Canadian sport catching on there, right?
Yeah, no, the reason we won finally, to be honest, is because I didn't watch that last game. I watched.
Well, stay the hell away from the TV next week.
No, my friend Kathleen Madigan watches for me, and because she's a big hockey fan too, and she's kind of, I've become the pony in the race because her St. Louis team is out, so that she's been rooting for them, and so she'll text me. So I have her watch for me. She's my designated viewer. So I think they're going to be in great shape as long as I'm very far away from any kind of television set.
Lewis Black is here.
And I can't take it.
I love your act, and you're coming to D.C., and I don't want to profess that this is easy, because I've been doing sports radio for 27 years, Lewis, and I've said to my wife many times, I think I could do stand-up. And, I've talked to a lot of comedians, and I'll probably ask you before this thing's over with, what makes a great comedian? Why do you decide to be a comedian? But then, you come to Washington, D.C. for a bender on Preakness weekend, and you sit literally at the Warner Theater, literally 4 blocks from the White House, and I guess at this point, the jokes sort of write themselves, but again, this isn't funny with Iran this week, right? So there's part of this where even the sensitivity is where's the line between scary and funny these days for what you're writing?
Well, it's a very thin line, but as I put it, I said, it's also, for me, the turning point for me was when I'm watching, goes all the way back to he's talking. Sarah Palin is talking, and Donald and the president to be is standing behind her, and she's at a podium. And I wake up, I turn the TV on. They're on. The election hasn't taken place, and I'm looking at the two of them, and I think, wow. I go, how am I supposed to make this funnier? It's like we're living at this point where satire and reality are exactly the same. You turn the TV. His face today was bright orange, beyond belief orange. I just, people have made jokes about that, but today was the first day that I thought, wow, somebody has really crossed the line. What is it? What is going on here? Why are we like a cartoon orange?
Oompa loompa doopity doo. We got Lewis Black joining us here. He's going to be at the Warner Theater all next weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. The Caps play on Thursday night, Game 4. He'll be at the Warner Theater a few blocks away. I'm hoping to get down there on the eve of Preakness weekend. I guess on the sports side for you with the Redskins and just in general, because I know you are a sports fan. There's a point where you want these people to behave normally and you want, sanity to take over. And then and they tell me, stick to sports. You're a sports guy, don't talk politics. And then we got half the teams in the league with guys kneeling, and then our stadium emptied out up here. We had 30,000 empty seats the rest of the year because the fans are then pissed at the players and the owners, and they're not going to the games. This intersection where politics and sports meets or stops, there is no such thing anymore. Certainly not when they're blackballing football players, which to me was something I only read about with Kurt Flood and Jackie Robinson and all of that. So I didn't think that could happen in 2018 in the National Football League, Lewis.
I didn't either. And I also didn't think, these people, I also think there's a portion, I think they're losing people because as much as kind of like that fantasy football league stuff has gotten people obsessed with football, you start to realize, especially for me, I love football, and you start to play that idiotic game, and you start to realize, my God, these people they're being injured in droves. A lot of it is that concussion stuff, I think, had an effect on the amount of people. That's where part of that audience went. It wasn't just political. There was people just going, I can't watch this anymore. They're losing a lot of their little millennials because they can't watch it. They're raised on soccer, so they can't watch it. And you have a league that was indifferent to their physical health. Now the league is indifferent to their freedom of speech. It's like, who cares? And who cares in the end? Seriously? Really? They're disrespecting what? It's come on, guys. People are wearing the flag. Idiots, who cares? And it's over. And then play ball. Then what do you want them to do? Well, you want them to stand and salute you? We are about to concuss ourselves for your entertainment. We salute you? Come off it. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Well, for the future, I've had a lot of coaches say to me, coaches closer to your age, getting into their 60s saying, I don't think there'll be any football here for my grandkids because I've coached it for 40 years and I don't know that I want my grandchildren playing it, And look, we're going to watch soccer next month being played in Russia where we know it was bought off. The U.S. isn't in it. Italy's not in it. But you know what I've decided to do, Lewis? I don't know if you've ever played a show in Reykjavik or ever flown through there on one of the budget airlines. I'm sure you have because you seem like a man about budget to me. But Iceland, I'm going to adopt Iceland for the World Cup next month. That's what I've decided to do as a red-blooded American.
That's great. I'm going there. I'm going to go there at the end of July, actually.
To Iceland?
I'm going there. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I love Iceland.
Yeah, well, things are expensive, but you get left alone up there. Hey, I know you're out on Twitter and stuff, and I don't want to give the whole an acronym, but you can join Lewis Black's frustrated union of cynical kindreds universal. That is known as the F.U.C.K.U. Out on at lewisblack.com and certainly at the Warner Theater next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Any wild sports predictions for us? Do you think the Capitals are really going to bring the Stanley Cup back to the nation's capital here in 4 weeks, Lewis?
It would be it would just be one of the great sports stories. There's a certain level that we're desperate. It would be a really great help for for everyone. It was just about time. They're like the Buffalo Bills. They're so good, and it just never happens. I just hope it happens. I don't know. I don't know enough about hockey. They certainly got all of the stuff to do it. They got all the talent to do it. I hope so.
All right, man.
I'll keep not watching. I think it'll happen as long as I'm not watching.
You know what? I'm going to credit you. When I'm drinking out of the Stanley Cup in 4 weeks, I'm going to say I already liked Lewis Black before he did my show, and I would pay real money to see you because you make me piss myself, quite frankly, when I come and see you. So next Friday, if I need some comedy, I'm going to come down to the Warner Theater and see you. I really appreciate you spending a little bit of time, and keep kicking Angelos and Snyder when you get a microphone around here. It helps out. All right?
Oh, don't worry. I'll be yelling about it when I'm doing my act. You've revved me up again, so I appreciate it.
That's good. I got you all perked up out there. Always a pleasure, Mr. Black. Thanks for coming on with us. We appreciate your unique brand of comedy, and you do keep us on our toes around here. We love watching you live. Oh, and by the way, the free Facebook Live stuff you do, that's some awesome stuff down to town. I catch that on my Facebook from time to time, and I wanted to say thank you for that.
Oh, thank you, and the folks should know about it. Every show that I do, if there's something that they want to yell about. When I'm in Washington Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, if they go to lewisblack.com, they can find out how to send in their own rant, and I'll read it.
Oh, so you could do it. You can solicit Daniel Snyder rants on the backside of the cheerleader thing, and you're going to read that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to work up my pen here, Mister. But work my best comedy for you. This is my first chance to write a joke for Lewis Black. That's pretty good.
No, there's been some really great stuff people have sent in, so feel free.
All right, well, so we can make you laugh. If it's good enough to make you laugh, it gets in the show. Is that the way it works?
Exactly. That's exactly it.
LewisBlack.com. He is Lewis Black out on Twitter as well. Warner Theater next Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Hopefully we'll get him back to the Modell Lyric down here so he can make us laugh here in Baltimore. And hopefully we won't be crying about the Orioles, but I'm sure we will be. Mr. Black,
we'll be weeping.
A pleasure. Keep the faith. It can only get better, right? It can't get any worse.
It can't get worse, and thank you very much for your time. Thanks.
You got it. Lewis Black, my favorite living comedian who took 15 minutes out of his day to try to make me laugh, and certainly coming from D.C., and coming up to Baltimore, and has always built anti-Angelos and anti-Snyder rants into his comedy. For that, I am grateful, Mr. Black. The BuyAToyota.com audio vault is there 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. You can listen from anywhere in the world, anyway. And speaking of that, the Modell Lyric is our sponsor, so I want to give a shout-out to that because I always say there's no static at all on our BuyAToyota.com audio vault. It's a little nod to Steely Dan. They're playing the week of my 50th birthday, October 11th, down at the Modell Lyric. So I want to give a shout-out for that because we will get Lewis Black to the Modell Lyric, I'm sure, at some point. But it's the Warner Theater next week on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Appreciate our friends at Howard Bank, a relentless commitment to being the best at everything they do. Branches throughout Baltimore and Maryland. Every person at Howard Bank empowered to help you. That's why they're special and unique. They're popping up all over the place. Check them out at howardbank.com. Also sponsoring our Thursday Charity and Community Be More Positive series where we sit and tell great stories with great people about great things going on in the community. If you have an idea, you got a charity, you got somebody I should be spotlighting and telling their story, toss me a note, nasty@WNST.net. I like Lewis Black. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live right here on our Facebook Live, just like Lewis Black, and our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.